So you bring up a good point of like looking at the data. There's a lot of data in marketing that people in the marketing team and leadership team might have to look through and sift through. And if they were just looking at performance of click through rate, they may have said, hey, these ads over here are performing much better. Let's double down on those, and would have had a worse result in the end. How do you help people kind of sort through all the data that's out there today and help them really stay focused on the most important metrics?
Look, I mean, click-through rate matters, right? I mean, you can't scale without having a decent click-through rate. And click-through rates show if an ad is standing out, which is half the battle, maybe even more than half the battle. But you can't let what I would call vanity metrics drive your business strategy. And ultimately, click-through rate is great, but if your conversion rate is really low, it doesn't matter, right? You're wasting spend. So you really need to focus on the metrics that matter. So you have to look at the whole life cycle. So at Hallmark, it was a subscription service and there was a free trial. So, we looked at obviously click through rate, everything from the top of the funnel. You need to get people into the top of the funnel. But then what did they do after they clicked, right? And then did they sign up for a free trial, which was sort of like the first conversion? And then 2 weeks later, once the free trial ended, did they convert to a paying customer? And you really need to follow that journey from the start to the end so that you understand, okay, did this ad work? Not from a click through rate perspective, but did it drive new subscribers? And what was the customer acquisition cost for a free trial person to start with? And then what's the ultimate cost for a paying subscriber? And so you're optimizing for the right metrics, the metrics that are aligned with revenue and growth, not just top of funnel.
One topic I always like to hit on, especially when in the marketing space that is relatively new and everyone's is top of mind for people right now, is leveraging AI and automation in marketing. How do you see these tools reshaping how teams execute, define, and measure their growth when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it changes every day. I think everyone's using AI, and certainly it can save you and your team a lot of time and energy. And I think AI is really good for certain things in terms of analyzing data and helping with content creation. But you still want to have a human, looking at driving the overall strategy, understanding the customer, mapping out the high level strategies. And, AI is a great co-pilot. So I don't see AI, at least in the near term future, taking over that, but it keeps getting better every day. So you never know. But I think right now it's a great tool. Really what we're seeing now also is instead of just people using tools like Chat GPT, now AI agents are being set up. And so certainly a lot of things are getting automated by these agents. And again, usually things that are tasks that require a lot of data or analysis or things that are easy to automate. It's constantly evolving. And look, as marketers, we've all been using AI in one form or another for many years. I mean, a lot of the machine learning optimization that happens in paid media, all that is, as a form of AI. So, all the tools we're using have now AI sidekicks or AI, tools that are going to help you with the process.
So, for leaders that are listening and really want to take action in this last quarter of the year to have more predictable growth with their marketing, what's one action they can take to start turning things around and have their marketing be a true revenue driver for them?
Yeah, I think it's really about, in some ways, going back to the basics. Some marketers, they might have sort of like their go-to-market playbook and they use sort of the same assets or same targeting strategy, whether it's on LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever the channel is. Again, they're not basing everything on the customer, knowing the customer, understanding their pain points, understanding their journey. If you have a funnel that's long or maybe a complex product, where are people dropping off? Why are people dropping off? Again, don't just focus, as I said before, on the acquisition side. You need to also have a holistic view and focus on the retention side. And I think if you have that customer first mindset, you make sure that you're not just focusing on acquisition, but you're also focusing on having a brand that's aligned with your performance marketing, and you're also paying attention to engagement and retention. And then lastly, as I said, doing 2 or 3 big things instead of 100 small things. I think if you follow that sort of basic template, you're going to position yourself for long-term and sustainable growth.
Absolutely.